And welcome back to another episode of JP and the Beanstalk.
You bet.
And we are here in the new studio.
This is just glorious.
I know, this is what we've been waiting for.
This is the field of dreams of podcasting studios. Look at that.
Yeah.
If you build it, it'll come. And we're bringing the energy because it's here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a brand new level. It's incredible.
This is true.
Great for you. You're in a new place. Overall, you've got a new studio. I get to come revel in the glory, observe the pops, play with the pops, even when you ask me not to touch them, knock them over. You know, it's what
You make
bad
me
friends
sound like
do.
a stickler.
It's what bad friends do.
I don't care. Just don't break it.
Sure.
You're
So,
fine.
I mean, you're saying like this guy right here, he's arranged just so. But if I were to, move, there's a quarter inch. Now I probably have effed with the feng shui of the place.
No, that doesn't bother me.
Won't get invited back.
It doesn't bother me.
Okay.
Promise.
I won't test those boundaries.
Promise.
I respect your arrangement here. You've clearly put together intentional effort.
I kept
behind it?
I kept it themed.
Yes.
That was the goal.
I love that. Big fan of that.
I did what I could.
I've never asked you about your Overwatch poster. You're an Overwatch guy.
Yes.
I don't know anything about Overwatch.
It's a video game.
It looks like Dwayne Johnson, just with more hair, with a bow and arrow. That's great. That's all I need to see.
It's interesting because that dude is Japanese.
Yeah, Dwayne's not.
No.
Dwayne's not a Japanese name.
Those Overwatch people, it's
Ugh.
Hanzo.
Hanzo.
Yes, I got him in this form too.
Okay.
Yes.
See, that looks more Japanese. The poster form, I was getting some serious The Rock vibes. It's probably the tattoo that's throwing me off. I'm neglecting the background
That's
is
fair.
clearly Japanese architecture. So,
Like I said, he's the head of a Japanese mafia.
I just
so
need to keep leaning into the
fine.
fact that yes, I am white. So, Jamie Garcia. Who else can I butcher?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Do you really want to go down that path?
Eventually, it just keeps happening. It's brutal. It's Shoka.
It's okay though.
Ashoka.
Well, has nothing to do with race though. She's just an alien, so that's
Okay.
different.
Okay.
I mean,
I feel a little better about
technically
that.
it's an alien race, but it's still alien, right? It's not human. She's human-esque.
Humanoid.
Yeah, I'd say you're
I
fine.
just need to stop. I need to stop. It's all good. Well, congratulations on the new place. It looks exquisite. Love what you've done with it.
Thank you.
I'm just here to really bask in it and take none of the credit, but enjoy it nonetheless. It's great.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Do you ever want to move again after having moved and now done work to the new place?
Look, if I move again
Mhm.
in the next 3 to 5 years, it better be somewhere I'm going to be for a long time. That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Like the next move, I want to be a more permanent
Yep.
residency.
Yep. Totally resonate with that. The 2 times now in the last 5 years that I and my family have moved, that's enough. That's enough. I have no interest in moving potentially ever again. That'd be great. Just, marry me in the backyard. That's fine.
Well, it's like
fly my Iowa Hawkeye flag and names. It's cool. It's cool.
it's either that or it's like it better be a hell of a deal.
Yeah.
Like it better be like,
Like a ranch that I inherited.
oh yeah,
Didn't expect. And it's just like, hey, sir, someone comes to the door, your rich uncle 5 times removed has bequeathed to you this exquisite ranch of 6.5 acres of just nature glory. Okay.
all paid for.
I'll
Yep,
move.
absolutely
I'll
done.
move.
Done?
Yep, done. I'm in. Do I have to take care of the horses? No. There's an old man who goes by Skipper who takes care of the horses. You just keep old Skip fed and watered, and he'll keep the horses fed and watered. This is really materializing into a very bizarre, but nonetheless appealing picture in my mind.
Oh, I do it.
Yeah.
Oh, I do it in a heartbeat.
Can you imagine just hollering across the ranch?
It'd be fantastic.
Mind the mare.
As you have one of those mall cop 2-wheelers
Mm.
to get around everywhere on the property.
That's more likely than horseback riding around the property. Golf cart's kind of the way to go.
Golf cart wouldn't be bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, the wife and I were out scouting photography locations with the family, and we saw someone driving around on a golf cart, and one of our kids was like, "Can we get a golf cart?" You want to say yes to that. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
It's a great idea. Totally impractical. We wouldn't use it. We wouldn't have any need for it. But it'd be so much fun to drive.
They are fun.
Oh, they're great.
They are fun.
Golf carts are awesome. Mopeds are awesome. Why can't I think of what the 2-wheel that you were referencing, what's that actually called? Segway.
Yeah.
Segways are awesome. Did you know the guy that invented the Segway, you know how he died? Drove a freaking Segway off a cliff. Not kidding.
That's horrifying.
Not kidding. Went straight over the edge, just
What a way to go.
done. Pretty awesome. Better if he had strapped some explosives to the bottom of it first, so he just went up in a blaze of glory.
Or, a parachute. Then he would have lived.
I like the explosion idea better. It's actually not a bad way to go, like falling from a great distance, especially if you blow up. That's great.
I don't know. Because, the blowing up part wouldn't be as bad.
Yeah.
Like, the fall, knowing the entire way, you're like, I'm dead.
Sure.
I'm dead.
I feel like you'd have time to make your peace with it. Like, I would rather that than drown, where you're just slowly getting smothered and running out of air.
Yeah, but at least you get knocked out.
What do you think happens when you hit the ground? It's over.
Yeah.
You're just goo. You're done.
Can you imagine if you're still, cognizant
That'd be
for just a little bit of it?
That'd be bothersome.
Yeah, that would suck.
Yep, that'd be really bothersome. I wouldn't care for that.
You look up and your entire body's gone.
Yeah.
I feel like your body would be in shock, though, at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you wouldn't feel it.
Mm-hmm. Now I'm thinking of the scene from The Dark Knight. Probably the most improbable scene. And there are several times where people fall in that movie, right? Harvey Dent, for example, falls and dies at the end of the movie. But when Batman leaps to Rachel's rescue and they fall from the top of his freaking penthouse all the way down to on top of a car or a taxi, that's one of the most improbable and probably my least favorite scene in that movie, because at no point does he extend the bat wings to low the descent. We're just led to believe that now they hit the car, it's all good.
You want to know why it's all good?
Well, because he's Batman.
He's Batman.
I know. But in a movie that
when in doubt,
is so good, it's like that scene just...
When in doubt...
It's always bothered me. So good. Hey, college football's back.
College football?
I want to know.
Yes.
Congrats, my
Dominated.
Hawks want to know.
They
about to be 2-0.
Oklahoma.
All you Cyclone fans in the back.
Oklahoma made the other team's head coach contemplate his life choices. Did you see that video?
I did not see that.
I felt so bad.
Oh, dear.
Because one of his players is consoling him on the sidelines. The coach is just like this, just devastated.
Who was Oklahoma even playing?
Arkansas State. It's
right.
Dude,
come on. No, you know what's going to happen. You know what the end is?
Oh.
You're here for the paycheck.
You poor guy. It's okay.
Yeah.
You'll get the next one. No. You weren't meant to beat Oklahoma.
No, you got to have your expectations properly oriented. Just like me as an Iowa football fan, when Iowa scores 24 points, I'm like, what a bonanza. This is great. Everybody else around the country is going,
How about Colorado knocking off TCU and having 4 wide receivers go for over 100 yards, because that's insane.
This is exhibit not A, but however much you can extend the alphabet. So let's say it's exhibit D23. Okay. Wait, no, that's a Disney thing. Crap. Let's say G8. I feel like I need to pick something else. Rats. H1. H1.
I think you sunk my battleship.
Yep. Thank you. Good one. Whatever it is, this is why I don't gamble. Because I would have bet. Anybody that asked me of my opinion of Colorado from into this year, they're going to win 2 games. Max. They're already halfway there. They're probably going to get a little more than 2.
Like I said, minimum 6-6. But if
I would have lost all the monies on that.
But my gosh, dude, they looked.
Yeah, they did. And part of what's fascinating with college football is this happens every year, where week 1 you have 2 opponents that play each other. You expect them to be good. One looks good, one looks a little bit better, and then as the course of the season unfolds, often one or both of those teams winds up being not at all what they were hyped up to be, right? Maybe perfectly fine, maybe bowl eligible, but not a top 25 team, for example. So who knows what TCU really is?
The ranking system's dumb.
It's
dumb.
Yep.
I think it's a poor way to do things.
Oh, there's no doubt.
But then again, we could go on and on and on about how the NCAA doesn't make sense, but then this would become a sports podcast, and
Yep, there's already enough of those.
Oh my gosh.
We're here for bigger and better things. So let's get into those bigger and better things.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, also Hawks not to be 2-0. Hawks by a million. You better believe it. Calling it right now. Again, this is why I don't bet, because I could very well be wrong.
Iowa State didn't look too bad.
It's fine.
Although, hey, this is the first time I've seen them play UNI, and they didn't play down to UNI's level. I was like,
that is rare,
guys.
That is rare.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
It's a bummer for me, but
that's right. I'm sure you were a good sport with the whole thing.
Oh yeah,
good for you.
You never got to worry about me in that department.
No, good on you. Good on you. What would you like to discuss, Riles?
Jeez,
what this isn't a sports pod.
I'm not gonna say what's even going on. Finn?
Yeah, not a lot.
We gotta make stuff up.
A lot of delays.
Lots of delays because of the writer's strike still going on.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah, I know it's crazy.
It's not the best.
I don't know. I think it's gonna last a lot longer than people think.
Yeah, I agree. That's okay. It gives us a chance to make crap up. Basically, debut or audition, as it were, as writers. Here we are.
Oh,
creative geniuses. We've been saying it all along.
Well,
no one's listening.
Well, technically, we can't audition because then we would be banned from ever doing it legitimately.
Interesting. Okay.
Because that's how the writer's strike works.
So that's vicious.
So we can't hop the picket line.
Let's just make a podcast.
Yeah, it's probably good.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't want
stick to our lane.
I don't want to ruin it
for
now. When it drops, when the strike drops, then I think we throw our hats in the rings.
Yep.
We've got great ideas.
Okay. Love it. Well, let's give some of the good but not best ideas for this
Perfect.
pod.
Perfect.
Great.
Yep.
That's great. What do you got? What would you like to discuss, my friend?
Well, do you want your topic, or you want me to do my thing? Okay.
I do. I'm excited about your topic. You shared it with me. I'm stoked.
Well,
we'll get into my shenanigans, but let's start.
We don't ever talk about what's going on currently in comics. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So this segment,
yep.
We're getting into TV show smokes. I'm calling it Just Comics. Because where else? Where else but comics? Right? So I picked 2 Marvel, I picked 2 DC, and I picked 1 random one, that's
great.
Which is Ninja Turtles.
Why?
So that's the vibe we're going for.
Well,
okay. So this first one, we'll just go Marvel to DC to Ninja Turtles. Okay, this first one, and I just want your opinion on good idea, bad idea, or that's just out there.
Ooh, okay.
Good,
weird. Bad, or just freaking weird.
Badass,
yep.
Ass, weird.
Okay, it's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
Number 1. Okay, now let me set the scene. This happened in the recent Spider-Man. Okay. And I'm sure you've heard of Zeb Wells' run not being so good. Have you heard those rumors?
Honestly, I haven't. I'm fairly out of the loop with recent stuff. I tend to be a looper of sorts. Speaking of loops, I kind of just loop around the old, so to speak, stuff that I enjoy.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
So
Zeb Wells authoring Spider-Man,
and then the artist is John Romita Jr. Who I think I've expressed I'm not a fan of his art for Spider-Man. For Spider-Man, at least,
which he has such a unique, distinct style that I think your personal preference there completely fair, because his unique style is only going to work for some characters in some instances.
Yeah, because like Worldbreaker Hulk, wasn't that him? And that wasn't too bad.
Oh, that's good.
So
that's good.
It's just not my style.
Yeah.
Okay. But anyways, Zeb Wells,
boxy. It's very strange. For Wolverine.
Fair enough.
Anyway,
now I don't know if this is within Zeb Wells' run. I think it might be. But
wait, one more thing. Should be pointed out that John Romita Sr. is the artist that did the Lord's work at crafting the iconic, like when you picture what Spider-Man looks like in your mind, or you see Spider-Man comics during their original run or runs, that's John Romita Sr. And his style is very different from Junior's. Very, very much more, I'm just going to call it traditional. It's good. It's really stinking solid. Junior is, again, he's an acquired taste is probably the best way to describe him. But Senior, there's some legacy going on here on the artistic side. I find it fascinating that Junior chose to jump in.
Yeah, so Zeb Wells, his run has not been
well received
because
Wells not well.
Yeah, right. So because like before he picked it up, they set Spider-Man up for getting married to Mary Jane again. Like, they set it up for everybody. They love Spider. Like, it set him off in a good spot. Okay.
That can't last.
Immediately afterwards,
Yes.
the next issue, his first issue,
Death.
he's like,
Pregnancy scares.
he made it so everybody hates Spider-Man. Sure. And everybody's like, why?
Wait, he made Spider-Man, like, not villain?
Not necessarily a villain.
Right.
But
Unlikable.
They're like, everybody's out to get him. And it shows why Mary Jane, like, left him and all this stuff.
Oh.
She gets left in a different dimension. He's gone for a day. For her, that's 6 years in this other dimension. Then she falls in love with another guy, and they have 2 children. It's all weird. Super weird. Okay? So anyways, Norman Osborn, good guy right now. That's the only guy that Pete's getting along with is Norman Osborn.
That's messed up.
So,
that's just messed up.
Because for some reason, they are dealing with people from hell. Okay? They
Sure, as a Spider-Man does.
So it was Ben Reilly's girlfriend who went into a villain.
Riley's still around? The clone Spider-Man?
Yeah, he's now a villain now too. It's a
boy.
whole thing. So, trust me, when I get there, it's great.
No,
so,
this is great.
So it's his girlfriend. I think she's called like Hallows Eve or something. I'm not even 100% sure. Some of these facts could be wrong, so don't fight me too mad.
Jamie Garcia.
So anyways, she's down there with Craven. Their objective is to turn Norman back into the Green Goblin. Okay, so they get this spear, and pretty much this spear has all the sins of the Goblin. So the idea is Craven stabs.
Spear, I like that.
Yes, Craven stabs Gobby
Yep.
with the Goblin spear, turns him back into Green Goblin.
Great.
That's the idea, the premise.
Big fan.
And
Big fan.
bad things happen.
Stab him.
Bad things happen. So here's the thought process. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
how do you feel about Peter Parker stepping in front of that spear to save Norman Osborn?
No. Oh.
And then there is an image of Peter cackling like the Green Goblin, and Craven running for his life because he realizes he done messed up.
Oh no.
And the next issue, he's back in the black suit, hunting Craven the Hunter.
Where's the button that I hit to select sweaty ass? Like for this idea. Where is that? I need buttons in front of me. I need a good I need a badass, sweaty ass, and I gotta get away from the butt metaphors. Good, not good, and just plain weird. It's not good. It's not good.
No?
No.
You don't want to see Spider-Man go on a villain tear?
No, it's to me it's a very not original concept to literally make the hero his or her arch nemesis.
Well, he's had the suit, that weird goblin-esque suit for a little while now too, so it's kind of like,
No, not even like I don't even hear that and go, that's weird. I hear that and go, that's just a bad idea. That's been done before, to have a hero become literally his most feared villain. Like they did it most recently, as far as I know, with Batman, where they had him become like the Joker of sorts, or maybe it was the inverse of that. The Joker became Batman. Still, it's like, why? Why?
Now that I think about it, didn't they kind of do that in House of M? Wasn't House of M Spider-Man like he's living life as a mutant, but he's not really a mutant?
Yeah,
and then
he wasn't just a flat out villain though.
No, but like he had like a split personality kind of thing, and then when he was like,
I think that was
found out he was a Green Goblin as well, or something like that.
I don't remember that from House of M. Yeah, to be really honest with you, I'd love to throw you a bone and say yes, but I can't in good conscience do it. I'm so sorry.
Either way,
Mr. Wells, what are we doing here? That's not what we want to see. You don't want to see Peter Parker become the Green Goblin. He's Peter Parker. By all means, pile adversity on the guy. That's why he's there, but don't abuse the privilege of writing the Spider-Man character and say, what if I just made him Green Goblin? You don't. There's a reason that you don't do that. It's a bad idea. Bad idea. What do you think?
If it was executed decent, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's great. But like, it's just like, I don't know. I've seen Spidey go through so much crap.
Yep.
So much garbage. Like, dude just doesn't ever get a break. We've talked about this on this podcast before. And like, I don't know. I don't know how whoever picks up after Zeb, like picks up the pieces for this and is like, here, like, how can we redeem him? Because that's where it almost comes off as it's like you're trying to make it so feels like you're trying to make it where he's irredeemable,
right?
And he's not going to ever be able to come back into the limelight.
No, it's not a good idea. The way that you could make it work is he gets hit by the spear. He's trying to save Norman, which, first of all, I'm okay. I'm more interested in that kind of a sacrifice play if Norman is his bad self, right? Like that's more noble of Peter Parker to save Norman Osborn if they're not weirdly friends. That's my take on that aspect of it. But then from there, let's say he gets hit by, the goblin, in this case, spear, let's call it a goblin toxin. It would be more compelling to me if there was a race against time of, hey, you're going to turn into, like, your mind, your body, as it metabolizes this toxin, you're going to start turning into a goblin character, right? And so we need to find the antidote as quickly as possible before that happens. And by we, I mean, hey, in this case, whoever Peter Parker's allies would be. But for him to just get hit by a spear, it's like, oh, goblin. I still find that, I don't find that compelling.
I think for me too, it would have been cool to see him fight it off. Because that's kind of like his thing.
Sure.
Like his resilience is kind of up there. And watching him try to fight it off, and maybe not being able to, and then having Norman step in to be like, hey, here's how you conquer it because that's what I've been doing.
Right.
I've been holding it back.
Yeah. And it can work in the sense where you can use it as, like, if it's an alternate take on the character, right? Like the Batman Who Laughs is, or once was, Bruce Wayne, Batman, absorbed the Joker toxin, got twisted into this combination of the Joker and Batman, and became a tremendous villain for our world's Batman. But that's the whole point. He came from a different world. He's an alternate take on the character, and he's used as the villain anyway, not as a hero getting twisted. So I just, nope, bad. There's my vote. One bad so far.
Yeah. So it was Queen Goblin.
Goblin.
Yeah, I'm looking. I just want to confirm that it was Zeb Wells, and it is Zeb Wells. So
yep.
Yes. It looks like they switched some of the art though. But either way, it was Zeb Wells. So yes. But yeah.
Way to go, Zeb. You had your chance and you blew it.
I think there's another Spider-Man run going on by, I'll say, Nick Spencer. Somebody that just did, or Dan Slott might have picked it back up. Somebody picked it back up. I don't remember. So there's two. But anywho, so that was number one. Okay. Here's another one.
Love it.
A more fun one. Okay, less depressing, more fun.
Yep.
Tony Stark and Emma Frost are getting married.
Say that again.
Tony Stark.
Yes.
And Emma Frost getting married.
Tony Stark, Emma Frost getting married. I'm gonna just say weird. I don't. Yeah, weird. Weird is right here. I'm not a huge fan of in comics comic marriages, right? Because they're rarely done for the sake of any actual beneficial storytelling.
They don't stick either.
No, they don't.
Unless it's the Richards.
But there you go, right? There are exceptions. So, yep. Reed and Sue Richards, good example. But no, in general, comic book marriages are there just to be broken up, right? It's kind of like a comic book death. Like they die so they can come back. So, and Tony and Emma Frost, weird combo. That's where I'm at with it. What about you?
I think that's just a different definition of a power couple.
Sure.
Like, they're both just smart in their own ways, except I trust Emma less. But from what it sounded like, it was going to be like a political thing. I don't know. But I know that Iron Man tech got involved with some Sentinels recently, so that might be also part of it. And also, I believe they are bringing back the Illuminati, and I think she's going to be taking the place of Professor X in the Illuminati. So looks like they're just going to be together quite a bit. So you might as well just have them married.
Here's my question. Right after the X-Men got put through the wood chipper back in the early 2010s with House of M taking mutants all but entirely out of Marvel Comics, how can you not like restore them in a better way? This doesn't feel like, hey, we brought mutants, like we reintroduced them in a way that's more compelling or better. This just feels weird.
What, you didn't like them getting their own country?
No.
And then also getting
defeats the purpose of being mutants.
And then also
defeats the symbolism of mutants.
And then but they also got Mars. And then they renamed Mars.
Total miss. Total off-brand. Like the whole point of mutants, it's a symbolic thing, right? It's obviously mutations that provide these superpowers. Like this is all fiction, so duh. The whole point of mutants and the reason why they've been so compelling for so long in Marvel Comics is that they are relatable in the sense that they live within our community, right? Just like we all do. And at different points, most of us at different points in our lives feel like outsiders, feel a little bit odd, or like we don't fit in. That is the mutant burden in Marvel Comics, is they're weird, gifted, but weird. And so to take them out of society and go, you know what? Here you go. Here's your own country. In fact, here's Mars. What? It's just, that's not what they're there for. You're missing an opportunity. It's like you're automatically just neutering the natural conflict that should be a part of mutant characters. It's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be tense. It's supposed to be uncomfortable.
Fair enough.
So, it's weird.
Fair enough.
It's weird.
And, yeah, last thought on that. I feel like Tony and Emma, if they ever had a child, I feel like that would be the most arrogant person.
Oh, unlikable.
Ever born.
Immediately
in comics. Like you have Damian Wayne, right?
Yeah.
The kid would just destroy him in the arrogant department.
Yeah. I mean, you think Tony Stark and Pepper Potts, and what's so great about that fit is that it is so easy to recognize that, wow, look at how much better off Tony is with Pepper in his life.
She keeps him grounded.
Yes.
Yeah.
He needs her. Emma is like the female version of Tony and vice versa. So this is bad. There's no, nobody's complimenting each other with their particular personalities. It's just, it's more of the same. It's not good. It's not good.
I love all the different women that they pair Tony up with in the comics. It's just,
how does he not have how is he not dead? From
all his exes?
Yes, from either being killed by an ex or having an STD that's just causing him to shrivel up and die. Like, it's ridiculous. Yeah, that's a question that could be asked of many a comic book character. It's like, wait a minute, how are things not worse for you?
Well, see, at least Wolverine's got his healing factor. I think that kicks in for that STD department.
Right. It's promiscuity. It's still morally shady, but it's like, well,
super shady.
You're safe at least.
Oh. Well, that's
okay. I took us down a weirder path. Get us out of there.
That's great.
Get us out.
So here are the two DC ones. Okay, First of all, there's a new character introduced to be the antithesis to Dr. Fate.
Ooh.
And all I've seen is Amanda Waller was involved. And the name of this character,
Zack Snyder's favorite character, Amanda Waller.
Yes. And the name of this character is Dr. Hate.
Oh no. Oh, I was ready to embrace it. And then the name. That's terrible branding. But for a Dr. Fate adversary, because it gives Dr. Fate, great, more to do, but
let me just show you a picture of Dr. Hate. Now, he looks badass, don't get me wrong.
Okay.
But the name
is terrible. It's like the Reverse Flash. It's just a bad name. Great villain. Terrible branding. I'm the Reverse Flash. Instantly discredited. You instantly lose.
Yes. So her Amanda Waller's plan is to eliminate all metahumans
Classic.
using Dr. Hate as her weapon. The Nightmare Stone and the Helmet of Hate have the potential to create powerful creatures and unleash devastating forces.
See, and that's okay. Like, you can have the Nightmare Stone. You can even have the Helmet of Hate, but you can't... you can't call yourself Dr. Hate. You know better. It's 2023. We can brand better than that. It's a great look.
Yeah.
But no, you're not Dr. Hate. Jeez.
So bad.
Oh,
So we're at bad.
unfortunate. Should have been good, too.
We're at bad, weird,
And now bad.
bad. Okay.
Yeah. Now let me think. In fairness, whenever I believe this, whenever someone says, "Hey, that idea is not good," easy to do that. Easy to throw the stone. Now what I need to do is go, okay, well, what should the name of the character be? Right? I don't think it should have doctor in it at all. Like Dr. Fate is just
No,
it's just there.
he should be a professor.
Okay, professor. But I'm thinking of Doctor Strange, right? The parallel character here in Marvel Comics, and he's battling characters like Mephisto. That's great. It's not Dr. Mephisto, it's Mephisto. That's fantastic. Mordo. Not Dr. Mordo.
So you're saying drop the doctor.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it should just be
drop the doctor.
I am hate.
If it was hate, that would be better.
Okay.
That'd be better. Now, I still don't think that's great, but it's better than Dr. Hate. That's just silly.
It's pretty corny.
It is.
It's like 1950s corny is what that is.
I know. How did that get through the producer's room? We're like, yep, stamp of approval. We're a big fan. Like there's such an opportunity there to create like an individual brand that has nothing to do with Doctor or the hate thing. Create another Mephisto. Create an Etrigan. I think of Etrigan the Demon. It's like, that's phenomenal branding.
Right.
Phenomenal. Do something along those lines. Like, take some time, think through it. I'm going to keep thinking through it as we go through here.
Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My other one now.
Yes.
So you have Mr. Mixel-Piddly, right?
Yep.
From Superman.
Yep.
Okay, Batman has...
Weird character.
Yes. Batman has Batmite.
Yep.
Right? His own fourth dimensional imp.
Yep.
Nightwing got his own fourth dimensional imp.
Really?
Yes. Called Nightmite.
Oh, dear.
Fun. And Shazam is getting his own called Shazamite.
How have these adversaries carried over? Like, how have they been allowed to continue existing? It's
So
weird.
My whole thing is, everybody has a fourth dimensional imp?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Right. Exactly. Why do you need an imp that's from the fourth dimension?
Like the one with Superman works really, really well because it's like...
It's such a strong juxtaposition of, like, you see Superman and you go, oh, this guy should automatically win always.
Yeah.
You see, I can't even pronounce his name. Jamie Garcia. What's his name?
Jaime?
Oh, I know. Sorry. But,
Mr. Mixel-Piddly or whatever.
Right.
Mr. M.
Mixel-Piddly.
Mixie.
Right.
However you want to say it.
Right, Mr. Mixie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you look at him and he's just not physically imposing at all. The fact that he has the fourth dimensional abilities. So that's a good juxtaposition. That's a good...
And he just dinks around with him.
Right. Just messing with Superman.
And then Batman's is just...
cheat codes.
And then Batman's is just the biggest Batman fan ever.
That's incredible.
So, like, every other Batman fan. Yeah, that's like his thing. He's like, it's Batman. And he freaks out that it's Batman. So, I can't vouch for the other two. But those are the original two fourth dimensional imps.
Okay.
It's weird that Nightwing and Shazam got one. And because technically it should have been Wonder Woman next.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Freaking imp.
Where's that one at? Weird?
Totally weird.
Yeah.
Just weird. And permanently weird. Also, like, I don't think that can ever be a badass or a good or even a bad. It's just weird. It's just strange. It's hard to strongly dislike and go, oh, that's bad. It's just weird. Yeah, very weird. Very weird.
Okay, this last one is Ninja Turtles.
Love
Did
it.
you hear of the Last Ronin comic
Yes.
book that was coming out?
Yes.
So you know about that, where it was one turtle survived, the other three died.
Wasn't it Raphael that survived?
No.
Really?
No.
Leonardo?
No. Do you want to know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Spoil it.
Yes,
For
spoilers. Michelangelo.
me. Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, very much not expected.
Yeah.
Would have been my third or fourth choice. Probably fourth. Fourth choice.
I
would have guessed Donatello had survived before Michelangelo.
Well, see, for me, I guess Michelangelo first because I was like,
Really?
well,
Okay.
people won't believe me probably, but I was like, Leonardo and Raph are too obvious.
Sure.
Like, I feel like those are the obvious choices.
Raph especially.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Donatello or Mikey, and it's like, who would have a bigger, like, oomph?
Yeah.
It was them. And I was like, it's gotta be Michelangelo.
Okay.
But yeah, so, anyways.
Okay, so Mikey's alive, the other three are toast.
Yes, still spoilers. At the end of Last Ronin,
Yeah.
Mikey dies.
Okay.
Yeah. And so
terrible.
Now they introduced a sequel to that, focusing on 4 new turtles.
Oh boy.
Trained by April and Casey's daughter, Casey, of course. So
wait, Casey named his daughter his name?
It's either that or Casey died before, and then April named their daughter Casey.
That would be cool. Okay. Okay, I'm staying
Because
open
Casey
here.
Jones died.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Rest in peace, dude.
Right.
So, yes, the Ninja Turtles' names are Yi, Uno, Odin, and Moja, which are all
That's awesome.
Which are all different languages for the number 1. Uno, 1.
Because Ronin means 1, correct?
I don't know.
No, I'm not right. I pulled that out of my keister, and that's not right.
Ronin is usually with like samurais and stuff.
Yep. Okay, you keep going. I'm going to look that up.
But yes, so that was pretty much just the concept.
Fascinating. How far?
I don't know. I have pictures, though, of what they look like.
Sure. Okay, so a Ronin in feudal Japan, a wandering samurai who had no lord or master. So I'm not far off in terms of the one, or in the sense of singular, but really I think Ronin is more in reference to no lord, no master. So there's some correlation there.
I will say these turtles
I love this idea. I love it.
Look a lot cooler in like design because
Okay.
the original 4 are like, just different variations of green, very normal turtle looking.
Yep.
But that's the design of the other 4.
There you go. Sure. Yeah, a little more
Yes.
obvious personality in there. Okay.
Yes. So, and then they all take up the other ones' weapons, of course. Yes. So,
no, I'm a big fan of this. Big fan of this because we're going to get into this on the topic that I've chosen for today in the next segment. But I love the idea of a reset and a fresh start of sorts. Right? Like there's only so much you can do with characters before you do need to reset, and so the fact that they are resetting in the sense of the original Turtles are just in the past, and now you have a new set of Turtles, I'm all for that because it gives you so much freedom to tell your own story, develop your own personalities for these Turtles without completely dismissing the history that fed into this new iteration. So I think that's a really nice balance to strike. You're not tied down by what came before, but you've got but you nonetheless have it there as a supporter, as a callback to. So I like that.
and it's a post-apocalyptic, like, so it's different. Like, it's not just them in New York and dealing with normal turtle problems.
Right.
So,
right. I think that's great. No, big fan.
But-
You?
so,
You like it?
I'm interested. I would read it.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
Last Ronin is on my list of reading
I was gonna say.
once I get back into reading.
Yeah.
So,
You've got me compelled. That's great.
So.
Big fan.
So we end on a good one.
That's great. Okay, no, good to end on a positive. Good segment.
That's
Riles.
just because comics.
Just because comics. Okay. Good segment, Beans. Well, my segment that I will introduce for today is a topic of the pot. Okay. So I'll call it top of the pot. A little branding there for you. All right. That was free of charge in the writer's strike, and I'll start charging immediately. So top of the pod here. Question that I wanted to throw out there for you and I to kind of chew on, debate, do a little back and forth. Would it be better, okay, for the MCU and the DCU, let's incorporate both of these entities into this discussion, to have a predetermined end time for their stories. When, hey, we hit, let's say it's 8 years, 10 years, 12 years. At the end of that period, we are resetting. Slate is wiped clean. Characters that, and actors and actresses that go, hey, I still want to keep playing this character. And the producers are going, we still have more stories to tell with that character, and that version of that character could be carried over. Okay, so there's some carryover possibility. But otherwise, the remaining characters, especially when you think about the actors and actresses that most of which are going, hey, I'm ready to do something else with my time, which is totally fair. Now you get a new version of that character, new actor or actress in the role, a new writer, new director taking that character, potentially a different direction. Would that be better? Or what we're currently seeing with the MCU in particular, because DC doesn't have its stuff together yet, so we really don't know what they're gonna be able to pull off. But they haven't successfully done even what the MCU has done. So let's just look at this from the MCU perspective. Is it better to instead try and create this ever-expanding, ever-growing, and yet interconnected world and universe? Which is better? Wipe the slate clean, start over, or no, keep building, keep growing off of what you built so far?
This is just movies?
Yeah, well, good question. Great question. I think we can talk movies and comics. So I'm staying very broad with this. Now, the comics that I brought today, I often like to bring comics from my collection because I was just looking through and I'm going, it is ridiculous how many times in comics there's this soft reboot, right? Where it's like, hey, we're resetting, but, well, we're not really committed to the idea. So we kind of are, but we go like 55% in, but 45% is carried over. I mean, DC, okay, in the last 20 years, it's even been that long, has just been silly, Ryle. So, for example, I hold in my hands Infinite Crisis, which we referenced on our previous podcast because it introduced May Reyes, not to be confused with Jamie Garcia, totally different characters, but it introduced Jaime back in 2005. Great character, phenomenal character, but it was one of the most recent DC events. Okay, fine. Well, then bust ahead to Flashpoint in the 2010 range. Oops, looks like we're resetting things again. Okay, sure. Fine. Let's reset everything again. Gotcha. And then prior to, I forgot about this, even in between Infinite Crisis and Flashpoint, you had Final Crisis, which I tried reading that once. No idea what was going on. And fortunately, as I peruse the interwebs, no one knows what was going on with that.
It's always helpful.
It's always helpful. But then you have a little bit further down the road. Oh, I'm sorry. We're going from the New 52 to a Rebirth. Well, another soft reboot. Fantastic. To the point where you have this glorious comic, freaking Death Metal, which kind of pokes fun at the whole Crisis idea. So, in other words, in comics, it's just silly. It's just ridiculous. Every 5 to 6 years, it's we want to kind of reset things, but what do we want to reset? I don't know. Let's do some of it. Okay, what should it be? Let's throw it against the wall and see what sticks. Perfect. That worked really well last time. Never actually works. It's always confusing. Because comics, right? But in movies, I think the expectation is elevated, as it should be, where if you're going to build this interconnected world, it better make sense. And that's part of what was so magical about the first 10 years of the MCU. It largely connected and made sense. But part of why I asked this question, is there a point that you reach in this storytelling paradigm where you just need to go, you know what? This has been a blast. There's going to be some people that go, oh, you're leaving us wanting more, but we need to genuinely do a hard reset. What say you?
If we're talking movies,
Let's talk movies.
if we're talking movies, I think now that I'm looking at the MCU, I think it would have been more beneficial to call it after Endgame and then reset.
Yep.
Now, going further into the future, I think it should have been, whether they picked 10 years or 12 years.
Right.
Max, maybe. I don't know. What, 2008 to 2018? It was 10 years?
Yeah, I think 10 years is what we know has worked before.
Right.
I could see someone going, hey, we need another couple years. So stretch it out to 12 if you want to.
Right.
8 would probably be the minimum, 12 the maximum. So somewhere that's the range
We'll just
for
say-
our,
we'll
for
just
our
say a
discussion we're
decade.
using. Yep.
I would say if they're going to do that, okay, here's a decade to tell our MCU
Tell your story. Yeah.
Okay. I would almost want them to take at least 5 years off before doing anything else.
Okay.
Because to me, I think the exhaustion is a thing.
Okay.
I think you can get tired and I think you can get worn out. I think that 5 years gives you a refresh, and you can take that 5 years and you can plan out different things and at least get your story taken care of, and then get your actors and actresses within the next 2 years. But I don't know. I feel like if you don't have a break in between the two, I feel like it starts running together, and some people are going to be like, wait, is this new? Or is this somehow connected to the old stuff?
Yeah.
But that is my thought process on live action.
Right.
Now, animated, if they wanted to do like 3 comic book accurate, like animated films, and it followed the book, and it's 2.5 hours long,
Right.
and you throw that on, you can keep those together forever, because I'm not gonna care if you recast a voice actor. I'm gonna care a lot less, because you're able to make that Batman look like that Batman for as long as you want.
Yep.
So to me,
the look is protected. The sound may alter a bit, but there's rarely like a dramatic shift in one Batman voice actor to another, say Superman, Green Lantern, so on and so forth.
Unless you are the late great Kevin Conroy. But outside of that, it's like, I mean, Jensen Ackles was Batman recently, animated wise, and I think he nailed it.
I agree.
From what I've heard.
Yep.
So it's like, I don't know. For me, if I would love to see that happen with an animated, like taken to the level of Across the Spider-Verse, and they literally were like, you know what? Let's animate Civil War. Bam. And it's actually comic accurate Civil War and not MCU Civil War. I say take your shot. I think that's easy money, even if you do follow the comic, because that's what I'm gonna go see. I want to actually see the comic book word for word. I want it accurate. So I don't know.
Yeah, this is gonna be the second time that I reference The Dark Knight on this particular pod. I remember watching The Dark Knight and the iconic line, first time I heard it, of you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become a villain. I remember hearing that line for the first time and it didn't sink in. I thought, I'm not totally sure what they're going for here. Now, in the just very strict boundary of the movie, it's in reference to Harvey Dent, where when we're first introduced to his character, he's this beloved district attorney. By the end of the movie, by the end of the story, he's been twisted into a literal villain. Okay, fine. And there's some metaphor there for Batman as well, right? He's been well regarded during his initial run as Batman, but eventually he takes on the burden of Harvey's crimes and is viewed as a villain. Where I'm going with this, okay, is that I think the same thing has taken place, the same infection has set in for the MCU, in the sense that they've been around for too long trying to prop up what has now become a cumbersome storytelling apparatus. Now, here's what's wild. Here's what I mean. We could not have known that until they actually tried to pull it off, right? So when Endgame wraps in 2018, all of us collectively are going, more. Keep feeding us. This is great. Give us more stories in this universe. Let's keep seeing these characters, right? Well, fast forward several years down the road and we're going, This is rough. This has not gone well. I kind of wish you guys would have wrapped things up in 2018. But had they done that, imagine the riots. Not literal, but imagine like how devastating that would have been if they'd said, you know what, guys, I'm sorry, but we're done. We're going to do a reset. I don't think it would have been well received. However, now that the experiment has played out, we know that that's probably what should have been done. Is they should have just cut it off and said, it's time to start fresh. And even with fresh characters, like I don't, for example, I like what you're saying about, hey, give yourselves a 5-year break. I think that's impossible in the sense that movies still need to be made and they still want to make money. But I also think it's possible if you simply use other characters in those 5-year transition periods. Because think of all the Marvel characters that we didn't see in those first 10 years. Shang-Chi, you can still bring him in. That's great. Bring Shang-Chi in. That's fantastic. Bring in the Fantastic Four. Bring in the X-Men. And then 5 years down the road, then you can start sprinkling in, hey, here's the new version of a Captain America. Here's a new version of Tony Stark, right? That gives you the time to process beyond what has been iconic portrayals of those characters and embrace new portrayals. But I also think it's inevitable that new portrayals happen. I mean, look at what we've seen with Batman, with Superman, heck, even with Wonder Woman's character, right? DC's done this. Marvel just hadn't gotten their movie crap together enough to do it with anybody but Spider-Man. Even Spider-Man, we've already seen 3 different Spider-Men, and yet how glorious was it when we saw the most recent Spider-Man movie and we got Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in that movie. That was great. So it gives you those opportunities where if you want to throw a little bone, if you want to throw a call out or a call back to what once was, you can still do that.
I mean, the Flash did it too.
Yes.
Oh, terribly. I did it terribly.
You incorporate Nicolas Cage. It's now we're just making fun. Now we're not even trying to pay homage. Now we're just being silly. So I think you're right. I think you got to be careful not to have the next version of that character butt up against the previous version. There does need to be time that passes. But now that we know what we know, I would love it. I would genuinely be refreshed at this point if Marvel said, listen, we're going to play this current string out over the next several years. We're too far down the road with the storytelling, the shots, the commitments. We're going to play out this Kang saga, and then we're just starting over. That's great. And then moving forward, they set up this paradigm of, hey, we're going to do this break, do this reset every so often, just to free themselves from the unnecessary burden. Because look at what else we've seen. Not only do actors and actresses want to move on and do other things, so do directors, right? They want to make other movies.
Right.
That's great. So allow a new director to come in and not be automatically burdened by, hey, so you not only have the challenge, which is immense, of making a solid movie that makes sense in and of itself, but you have to somehow figure out how to tie it in all of these other stories and movies that came before you that you had no part of making. I think that's an unfair ask, and we see it play out in comics. So if you want to know, I wonder how that's going to go, trying to just tie all these decades together. It doesn't go well. It does not make sense. It's cumbersome. It's awkward. We as the fans end up losing. So I think really we just need to say, you know what? Be done. I'd rather be left wanting more than seeing more and going, ew. You know what? Never mind.
Right.
I wish I didn't get what I asked for. That actually wasn't very fulfilling at all. That's where I'm at. And I wonder if we're not getting there. Riley, I wonder if the MCU is not trending in that direction.
Oh, I think Secret Wars is your reboot. Like after Secret Wars, I think you see a soft reboot. I think you get in Secret Wars, I think you get one final goodbye to everybody. And then I think after that, it sets it up for the new stuff. And here's the Fantastic Four. Here's the X-Men. Here's the new Avengers.
Yep.
Have fun.
Totally agree.
I wouldn't be surprised if everybody was new.
Yeah. And I wish comics would do this too, right? We've talked so many times on so many different pods about how much we enjoy alternate universe takes in comics, how refreshing they are, how they get to break new ground. We get to see sides of characters we didn't get to see before. I do wish comics would do that, quite frankly. Now, I think you could stretch the time frame out much longer. You could say maybe every 20 years because it just takes longer to write and make that comic story. That's fine. Do the reset. Like, this is just silly when we're trying to, because it's impossible. And so it never makes sense. You just have to like close your eyes almost all the way and go, okay, I'm just gonna believe it. I'm just gonna buy into it.
Here's my thing when it comes to like comics, because I read manga and anime.
Yes.
Watch anime, and what's great about those is it's one writer doing all of it for as long as it exists, and it's that person. Love or hate. Now, normally they do a great job because it's just a book that happens to be art as well.
Yep.
They do all of it. The good ones, they last. It's great.
Right.
Comic books, you don't get that. They're constantly changing the writers, which I get that some people want a break. So for me, I would almost want 10 to 15 years.
Yep.
The editor is the editor for 10 to 15 years.
Mm-hmm. And the caretaker of that character.
And they assign certain characters to specific individuals, and that individual, that is their character they are in charge of.
Right.
And then if crossovers happen or anything like that, they go to the other person that person is in charge of. So you have one person in charge of Spider-Man. Yep. Now, for the smaller characters, you can have one writer in charge of a couple different ones. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That makes sense to me, because some people are going to get that variance, but that's what I would want.
Yep.
That way there is a solid cohesion for 10 to 12 years, and it all makes sense. And then you do your big universe reboot.
Yeah.
And then instead of the golden age and the silver age, this is that person's era of comics.
And you can even, like, if you're going, well, how do we not treat it as though we're just dismissing what came before? Literally just set it up on its own universe, right? Like, say, hey, this is universe, Marvel likes to call their primary universe the 616 universe, right? That's great. Start with 616. Hey, look, this is 617. This is 618.
Well, look at how...
Why not do it that way? So 616 kind of lives in this permanent capsule in time. And if you want to call back to it, you can do that, right? As the writer of Universe 618, but you're not bound to it either. You don't have to go, okay, what did they do back then? I need to remember that and try and incorporate it here. But I want to tell a different story. Well, that writer 10 years ago didn't have they weren't keeping me in mind as to what I would want to do. That's just a gross burden to try and bear.
Well, and I think a prime example of this is look at how well the Ultimate Universe for Marvel was received with Brian Michael Bendis.
Right.
That was his baby.
Yep.
Yep. If I remember correctly, he did mostly all of the stuff. I mean, I know he did Spider-Man throughout the whole thing.
Right. I think he did the Avengers run as well.
Yes.
Yep.
So the Ultimates.
Yep.
The Ultimate Universe. Everybody loved it.
Yep.
Well,
it was well received.
Spider-Man.
Very well received.
Spider-Man for sure was like.
Yep.
This is like the best version of Spider-Man ever.
Yeah, it didn't conclude well, I recall. But as a whole, the concept and the execution was really well received. Like a lot of things, it didn't quite stick the landing, but it was 95% of the way there, and then the last 5% was a...
Me personally, like, if I were to do my own, like...
Yep.
Theoretically.
Right.
I would almost... For me, I would just have characters age normally. Mm-hmm. And then 20 years down the line, instead of you having to you could kill a character off, but they just age out, and you can kill them off in the next generation. And then that next generation is different, because guess what? You're still getting that character, but it's a different take on the character. Yeah. And nobody's going to be pissy at you for ruining Spider-Man when it's not Peter Parker anymore, and it's his daughter, Mayday.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's what's really cool about DC with their legacy characters. You have you have 3 or 4 different Flashes.
Yep.
Like you have
Yep.
the old man.
Yep. You got
Okay.
Jay Garrick.
Yep, you have Jay Garrick. There it is.
Yep.
Then you have
Yep.
Barry.
Yep.
And then you have Wally.
Wally.
And that is, each of those Flashes are someone else's Flash.
Right.
And they are different in their
Depending on
own
what
right.
generation you grew up in.
And they're all well beloved.
Yes.
So to me, it's like, that's not a bad idea either.
Correct.
Because then you're like, okay, we're giving you a Flash, but this is your different Flash. This is your own Flash. You do whatever you want. It doesn't affect any of the other Flashes.
That's a great point. Like if you're going, well, I want to keep the same universe. Okay, well then let people actually age
or die. And instead of them coming back, they stay dead.
Right.
And if they do come back,
yep.
it's worth it. And it makes sense. Like Blackest Night, I think, is a prime example of them bringing back characters correctly. Because they just throw a wrench and everything.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Yeah. I do think in its own sense, so that's going to take a certain level of foresight. But I also think you can look at the Star Wars universe. What's been the hardest to receive and receive well? It's been the sequel trilogy, right? That's been all over the place. And yet you've had phenomenal runs with The Mandalorian, which has been really well received. Andor, which was great. So you have a sequel and then you have a prequel. I mean, you have these new characters. You're not burdened by, hey, we have to tell a Skywalker story. You don't.
And that is the burden. That is the burden that Star Wars did. They felt like they had to be connected to the Skywalkers. And
they already nailed the story and they should have moved on.
Well, and here's the deal with that.
Yep.
If they really wanted to do a sequel series, they should have done it when they did the prequels, and it should have brought Mark Hamill back.
Yep.
That's what they should have done, and they waited too dang long.
Yep.
And then don't get me wrong, if they would have done that, we wouldn't have gotten Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor. So I'm glad they didn't, because
some good came from this.
Oh my gosh. Ewan McGregor not being Obi-Wan would have been a nightmare.
It's a void in your life you never would have known existed.
Oh my God. Yeah. So,
I totally agree.
But
I think that's a parallel, right? Where you can go, wait a minute. When we free ourselves from the shackles, from that burden of, well, we have to tell like this character's stories. Well, you free yourself up to tell other characters very compelling stories. And yes, those characters benefit from the world that was introduced by those original characters, but you don't need to be burdened by that. That can be the support, the building block that it was intended to be. I think a lot of what it comes down to is just laziness. Like, I don't know how to tell an original story. I'm just going to kind of sort of steal from the past, right?
Right.
You need to create your own character. You need to create your own story, because that is where the richness comes in. And that's what made those characters like Luke Skywalker, that's what made his character phenomenal to begin with.
But if you're going to bring back a legacy character, they better be that character. Because if it's Luke Skywalker just taking his lightsaber and chucking it behind him and being done with life, that's not Luke Skywalker. When his whole thing was hope, hope, hope throughout the entire original trilogy.
Yep.
And then you butcher, because that's where the issues lied with the sequels.
I agree.
They butchered his character.
I agree. It was like a retcon. Yep, I agree.
And why the prequels ended up working later on down the line, because they weren't well received at the beginning.
No,
except number 3 was. But
sure.
It almost felt like Anakin was a completely different character than Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Because he was.
Yeah.
And you watched the turn. So I don't know. That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll be fascinated. Maybe this is too hopeful, but I really do. A reset of some kind is coming. Of that, I'm confident. I just hope that when the reset comes, it's a hard enough reset. And maybe in that sense, it's better for these movies right now to be received very well, so that when the reset comes, the producers can go, we're not really sacrificing much. People aren't a fan of these. So let's just start over, right? As opposed to what would have been very difficult, if not impossible, at the time of Endgame to go, all right, well, we told a great story for 10 years. Hey, everybody, we know you love these characters. We're going to reset. We're going to start over. I think now that you've had a taste of both, I think there's more. I think there's a genuine opportunity, and I hope it's not missed, to do a reset and to just free us from this burden of, well, we have to tie into these things from now 15 years ago and 20 years ago. It's like, you don't. What was so great about those original stories is they were free from those shackles. They were able to tell their own story with their own characters. They didn't have to reference these dozens of things to the point where it just became cumbersome. That's one of my least favorite things about comics, is that the story becomes less about the story itself and becomes more about, well, what can we call back to? What can we reference? That's why I'm reading it. I'm reading it for something new. I want a different, new story, a different, new take on the character. I don't want callbacks. Let's go read the whole topic. If that's what I want. You can reference it once, but then let's move on. Let's tell our own story here. And I think that's really what Marvel and DC need to do. So as DC kind of embarks on this reset of their own, which is more because of you blew it. Okay, new guy, next guy, Mr. Gunn, can you please save us? They need to, this is going to be the challenge for them, because I do think that James Gunn is going to be most successful out of all the DC, mind you, low bar, of all the DC iterations we've had so far. I think he's going to be most successful. The challenge for DC is going to come 12 years from now, where they've got some genuine, tangible success. Can they let it go and say, okay, now we need to reset, or are they going to repeat this mistake by Marvel and go, we can't reset it, we can't abandon this, we got to keep piling on until this gets too heavy and folds in on itself. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. It's just with the new iterations, you just hope that they at least keep the characters, their core characters.
Yep.
That's the only thing I request.
Yeah.
It's like,
yep. Totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Spider-Man, that's what Spider-Man PS4 did phenomenally.
Yeah.
Like, yes, it's its own take on Spider-Man, but it's still Spider-Man.
Yeah. And that's where, here's the deal. That's where I think, you want to talk TV shows? That's where I think TV shows could have their heyday, is do alt takes on the characters, right? If you're going, hey, we had this writer come up to us with this really killer idea. Great. Do it as a TV show, not as the live action. The live action is that core version of that character. You want something that's alt, get that in the TV show. That's where I think you can then have your TV shows, right, that these studios want to have. That's great. That's where you have that playground. I think there will be enough of a niche for it amongst fans where they'll watch it, they'll consume it, they'll enjoy it. But now you're not tied with Zack Snyder, he's got some cool ideas. He's different. Like, they are not the core ideas of these characters. Like, I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but he had some pretty out there ideas where he wanted to take Batman and Superman and like all these characters. Had he been allowed to keep doing what he was doing, it would have gotten weirder. Not less weird, weirder. So you know what? Hey, Zach, you can do this in the TV show. You want to do that? You want to be a showrunner? No, you just want to make movies? God bless you. Okay, well, peace be with you. Yours that way, right?
Right.
But I think that's where the producers, as the gatekeepers here, have to be savvy enough to know, does this line up with why we love this character for this movie? Yes? Great. We can make a movie with that. No? Good enough idea. Let's do a TV show. If not, it just isn't going to fly. I'm going to pass. That's what I got, man.
Same. I think we're good.
Boom. Love it.
I think we
Top of the
killed
pod. Crushed it. Great segments.
Absolutely.
Great segments.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Well,
congrats again on the studio.
Thank you,
It's
man.
majestic.
Thank you.
It's beautiful.
I'm pretty proud of it.
You
Pretty
should
happy
be.
about it.
You should be.
So yeah, it's great.
Love it.
Yeah. So on that note, if you haven't subscribed or liked, do it. Share it. Do it. We're on TikTok at Magic Beans Productions.
Of course.
Do it. I have Instagram, KP and the Beanstalk. Do it.
Do it.
Magic Beans Productions is also on Instagram. Do it.
Do it.
And if you want to listen to just me talk,
Of course you do. Of course you do.
spill the beans. Do it. So
A lot of good beans out
yeah,
there. Love it.
So on that note, Godspeed.
Peace.